to hang out with my besties, Jason and Alicia. How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you, Amy?
Awesome. What are you guys up to, Mr. TEDx? Tell me about that.
We're admiring your shirt. I mean, that was the first thing. Alicia, did Alicia even say hi to you before she said she liked your shirt?
She was like, I like a shirt.
Yeah, I think we should all start talking to each other like we're 6-year-olds in the playground. Just walk up to people and say, your hair's cool.
I want to talk about, I think that's a new sign behind you too, the live large. That's cool.
Is that new? No, that's been.
That's not new.
Well,
Wow.
I newly noticed it, and I really like it.
Way to be perceptive. So, TEDx was a lot of fun. We're still waiting for the video. It's taking way longer than we thought it would take for the video. Post-production has to happen, and then Ted has to approve it. It's not like a dude named Ted who has to approve it, but the TED organization has to approve it. Maybe. And then we'll see. Maybe it's a guy named Ted. Who knows? So hopefully in the next few weeks we'll see it, and you will definitely see it online because I won't be shutting up about it.
Oh, I was so excited for you guys. I kind of felt like I was like you guys' sister or something. I'm like, we were watching. I'm like, look, it's so good. Oh my gosh, is Alicia crying? Because I'd be crying. I was so right there in it. It was great.
So exciting. I think I was like one of the first people there. We got there so early.
Oh, for the actual day.
I got a seat right front and center. I was taking pictures
and you look at all the pictures from TEDx, the back of her head is in almost every picture from the official TEDx because she's right in the front. Yeah, the back of your head is in every picture. It's awesome. The back of her head is famous. It's incredible. It's awesome.
It was good.
That's awesome. So what do you got going on, Alicia? I saw that you went to an event recently in North Carolina, right? Some kind of
I actually facilitated the retreat. I was a co-facilitator.
Hi.
And so he's been kind of inspiring me.
Kinda? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
He's been like the total inspiration for me.
Stop. Seriously, stop it.
All the wonderful things he's doing in the world. No, so I put together this retreat on the sacral chakra immersion. And I think there were 8. There were 8 women, wonderful women, and we all came together, and it was goddess circles, and we did crafts and art projects and yoga and meditation.
And practice speaking in high pitches.
And in the mountains, Blue Ridge Mountains. It was so nice. Yeah.
No men allowed.
No men allowed. Just women.
That's so cool. I was kind of jealous. I was like, gosh, I want to do art and run around and dance.
So much fun. We had dancing around the fire and
painting
and stuff. It was so much fun. We're going to do it again in the next couple of months, probably.
That's
Boom, you're there.
There we go. I'm in.
Nice.
So Jason, how long have you been an entrepreneur?
So I've officially been an entrepreneur now for, what's today? I feel like I should know to the minute. 2011 is when I left my corporate job. So it's been 5 years. Yeah, actually 5 years. I think it's this month that I left.
Oh my God! Congratulations!
Boom.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that's taken a bunch of different twists and turns, and I was in I had 2 more traditional startups when I first left my corporate IT job, and then over the last 3 years I transitioned to doing full-time coaching and speaking and training and hosting kind of personality-based stuff as opposed to more traditional startup stuff.
Awesome. So you've been riding this entrepreneur train for 5 years, you said, right? So tell me first, Alicia, tell me how long you guys have been married.
I don't know why I just got scared.
I'm the date person. So, go ahead. Let's see.
We have been married. It will be 9 years at the end of this year.
Very good. Okay.
And together 11 at the end of this year.
That's right. Yes.
So he's been an entrepreneur for 5 years. So what have you been up to in the past 5 years, Alicia? What does your journey look like?
Well, it's hard to remember what I did yesterday, but for the past 5 years, I have been working as a SQL programmer, and now I'm working at a software company for the railroads, which has been really awesome. The past few years, 2 years, I've been on a journey trying to tap more into my sacral chakra, my divine feminine, and I've been getting into the world of just really applying what I'm learning and trying to help other people learn about like their divine feminine. And I've been holding goddess circles, and I've also been doing, I just hosted the Sacral Chakra Immersion Retreat, which I talked about. And yeah, it's been like an evolution for me that's been really inspired by the evolution that he's been going through as a person and in his business.
Well, yeah, and in the last several months that she's been planning the retreat, she's been holding like, it's like what I was doing when I first became an entrepreneur is I had a full-time job and I was working on my startup like nights and weekends.
Right.
And she got a taste of that because she has her full-time job and then she was working on creating this retreat nights and weekends. So it's like she knows what it's like to straddle both of those worlds now.
Yeah, and honestly, so I kind of started like sympathizing and realizing what he was going through, because when he first started off, you know, he had his full-time job and he was trying to start this thing, you know, working nights and weekends. And I would kind of get on him and say like, honey, like you have to have work-life balance. And
Right.
I just didn't get it.
Well, you were right.
I mean, I was,
Yeah.
but you were also trying to do this transition,
Yeah.
and I just
Right.
didn't get it. And so you would kindly remind me, like, hey, honey, just, you know, this is like what I was going through.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I really started to realize. And so then every once in a while you would say to me too, like, hey, you know, let's have work-life balance. Can you spend some time with me? And I started to realize, oh, wow, this is hard to kind of juggle both.
It is.
It is, you know, and I think that the great thing, I was telling someone the other day that being an entrepreneur is infectious. I mean, you get it, like you see your husband going through it, and you know, you contract it and you get it, and you have to,
There's no cure.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but it's awesome because you get to relate to them more because you see, oh my gosh, yeah, I get it, you know, and the whole like being present thing, you know, people are like, oh, I can't wait until Matt says, you know, Amy, you need to be more present, you know, because it's hard, you know, it's hard to get pulled away and your mind wants to, you know, focus on, you know, your project, but then you have all this other stuff. So I completely get that. Absolutely. So 5 years, tell me what the biggest struggle for your relationship would be, you know, trying to maneuver the, you know, the minefields of entrepreneurship over the last 5 years. And I'll start with Jason. So tell me, what's been kind of a struggle for you or something that you've really had to work on over the past 5 years?
Yeah, well, I think there's a lot of things I probably could point to, but because it's so and because it's something we experienced just a couple of weeks ago, and it's to Alicia's point and to your point we were just talking about, is about being present, about really having like this quality time with each other. Right. And we both, like over the past few months, especially with her doing her retreat and getting, well, not just doing the retreat, but getting ready for the retreat, like all that led up to it, and then also leading the retreat, and then me traveling a lot and being away from home a lot more with my speaking and whatnot, we realized that like there was a feeling of like this lack of connection. Mm-hmm. And the way it came up was actually a couple weeks ago. It was like 2.5 weeks ago. I hope you don't mind if I share this. But a couple weeks ago, and she kind of got on me about money. Like it was like a money argument or conversation, and like we never argue about money. That's the one thing that like we've always done a really good job of not arguing about money, of just being like really transparent about money and you know what's happening with money. And all of a sudden she started getting really upset about like this money conversation, and so then I start getting defensive. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, this is like, I don't understand where this is coming from. And then as I'm sitting there with her talking, like I realized like, oh, wait, this has nothing to do with money. Like there's something else going on there. And so we were both able to kind of like really get present and be like, hey, what's really going on here? Because we never fight about money. And maybe it's about money. I'm open to that.
No, I realized it wasn't about money.
And we were open to that. It could have been about money, but it wasn't. It was about connection.
Right.
And that was just the conduit to be like, I miss you.
Yeah.
And I miss you too. And like, I don't feel like I'm connected to you. And I feel like we've been these passing ships in the night. But money's an easy way to just like start that conversation.
Right.
So I think that was a really big thing for us. And right there, like in that moment, like in that conversation, I immediately grabbed my laptop and I booked us in this little like motel by the beach near Carolina Beach for that weekend. We were like, we're just going. We're going to shut off the phones and we're just going to go. And we went and we took naps and we went to the beach, even though it was too cold to be at the beach. And we ate a lot of food and we just reconnected. And so I think the biggest struggle is really finding a way to stay connected in the midst of all the craziness.
And then to make sure, obviously, in any relationship during anything, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, is just to talk through everything. But that,
Right.
especially when there's a lack of time that you're together because one or the other or both are working on things on nights and weekends, it's just so important.
Communication solves all problems.
Yeah, exactly. And that is, spot on. Communication, like you said, communicating, and I know that is so important in any kind of relationship, of course, but when the couple is traveling and they're focused on, their projects and what they're working on, their launches or their business, there can be a lack of communication there. So tell me, like, how do you guys, you said you had a moment where you had to connect and communicate, but has there always been a way that you guys kind of communicated with each other that's worked for you?
I think that we've always kind of just been really good at talking about like how we feel and what we're thinking, and I know that however I feel, you're going to listen and you're going to be there and be open and accepting for whatever I say or however I feel. It's kind of funny. So something that's coming up for me is that before Jason did a lot of like
It's
work.
really weird to hear you say my name.
I know.
So, do you say Matt a lot, or is it weird?
No, I don't. And when I do, he'll say, "Okay, Amy," because I'm like, what?
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It was just funny to hear my own.
So I should start calling you by your Muffy or something.
No, yeah, no pet names on. This is no.
Buttercup.
Buttercup. You want me to go there with your nickname?
No.
Okay, all right, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay.
How do we communicate?
Thank you for getting me back on track. So I think we've been really, really good about that, but it's been really funny. So before Jason has worked really hard on himself, become like more evolved and more like focusing like inward and stuff, I feel like I was the one that was really good about communicating, talking about feelings, slowing down. And it's so funny, like the tables have kind of turned, and I notice it any time where like I'll get like irritable or something, and he's so good at communicating, and it almost makes me mad. Like you're so good at it.
Well, I float when I meditate. Like, I'm enlightened. I'm like on level 99 enlightenment. So I'm totally.
No, it's like, yeah. So communication is really good, but what has really in the past couple of years since you've really worked on yourself, that if I start to kind of, or I'm not as high up the ladder as you use in your terminology, I'll kind of just I'll say silly things I don't mean or something. I'm not mean to you, but
No, you never
like
mean.
I'll say like about the conversation that you were just talking about, like, I'm frustrated about money, blah, blah, blah. And then you're really good at like staying centered, staying present, and just really talking through it and helping me talk through it to really get to the root of, okay, what is this really coming from? How do we both really feel? And then we'll be able to figure out how to fix it.
Yeah, and to me, the root, like if I can give the secret to everybody who's watching this, and maybe I hate to say this, but it is kind of true. Maybe women are just kind of naturally a little better at this than men, so maybe this is a better tip for the men, but I think it's good for everybody, is to recognize in any moment of miscommunication, of disappointment, of struggle, of challenge, of whatever's going on, that you played a role in creating it. I played a role in creating that. So if she's upset about something, even if in my head I'm like, this is ridiculous, there's no reason to be upset about that, I played a role in creating that experience. Mm-hmm. And so if I do that, then I immediately take it away from how do I convince her that she's wrong and get her to see my point of view. Right. I can say, okay, there's some part of what you're saying that must be true, or you wouldn't be saying it. Right. Maybe I'm doing something I'm not aware of. Maybe I did something that was misconstrued. It doesn't matter. But I can own that I did play some role. And when we can both own that we played some role in whatever's going on, then we're not fighting. We're trying to co-create something together instead of trying to prove that we're right.
See, but who can do that? That's so like...
It is really hard. Let me tell you, I'll be honest. I struggle with that because Matt's the same way. Like he's very like, he reads books and he's so good at like being centered and focused, and he'll like use those words that he's learned on me, and I'm just like,
smart.
I'm like,
to evolve.
It does something to me, and I know like when I see him with other people doing that, I'm like, yeah, you should totally listen to him. Like he's so like he's right, like go. But when he's talking to me like that, I'm like, My head spins around. Oh my god. So I think communication is a work in progress for everybody, because I always say there is a time to communicate sometimes, and there's a time not to communicate. And there's like that green zone where you're like, okay, I'm willing and I'm ready to listen and be heard. But and then there's sometimes like, I'm not in a good place right now, and anything that comes out of my mouth is probably going to hurt your feelings.
Right,
You know?
yeah.
Yeah. And so you just
be mindful is to know when it's not the time to talk and say, I
Yeah.
need some space.
Yeah, exactly. So you guys talked about traveling, and I know that you both travel. So how does that affect your relationship? Because I know for a lot of entrepreneurial couples, traveling is an issue. The distance it causes, the worry, the insecurities, those type of things. So how do you guys go and travel and do your own thing and come back and be so good at the distance and then, coming back together?
Well, I mean, we obviously sucked at the last month or two because we're super disconnected. But I don't think that's normally the case. I think that, typically we do a fairly good job of communicating, like of talking or FaceTiming or whatever when we're apart. The only time that becomes a struggle, obviously, is if there's like a big time zone difference and I'm wanting to talk to her, but she's still at work, or if that means it's too late at night or whatever. But I think we do a pretty good job of making sure we're texting or being on the phone and communicating with each other. And I don't know about like the insecurities or worry stuff. I mean, I don't have any of those. I don't know if, yeah. So, I mean, the big thing with us is just we're, and this is something which probably won't be popular for a lot of people hearing this. So sorry, I'm about to make you look bad.
Oh my God!
Well, no, because I'm going to make myself look bad and you're going to look bad in the problem. It's okay if we both look bad. No, I'm going to make us both look bad right now, and I'm okay with it.
Okay.
So there's a purpose for this. So we don't have any children. And one of the reasons
that doesn't make us look bad.
Well, no, that part.
Okay, I'll keep going.
Let me finish making us
Wait,
look
it's getting good.
So we don't have any children because children are gross. No, I'm kidding. No, that's not. No, we actually love kids. In fact, I'm like the idiot where I'm always waving at babies, and she's like, "Stop! You can't do that. You're not allowed to wave at babies." She doesn't smack me. I don't know why I'm doing this. You can't wave at babies. Anyways, I wave at babies. I still haven't made us look bad. I'm still making us look good. Let's go to the bad part. So we don't have kids. And one of the reasons I think that we don't have kids is because we're really selfish with our time together.
Well,
right?
In a good way.
No, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think it's great.
Part?
That's the bad part. So the reason I say that is because I think that's the biggest issue when we travel is that we're so selfish of our time together that when we travel, we lose some of that time. So I think it's just a matter of making sure that when we come back, we really like dig in extra, like make up on that time as much as possible. Even if literally laying on the couch watching TV, like binging on some Netflix show, just being together where like our skin can touch and it's not FaceTime, that makes all the difference to me. And one of the things too that I think we're really good about that both of us know, and we haven't read the book, but we know the gist of it, is knowing each other's love languages, right? So like I know that one of Alicia's big love languages is touch, right? And then she knows that mine is words of affirmation. And so like we're really good, I think, even without necessarily thinking about it, to like make sure we really key into that stuff when we're not feeling a connection. Did you agree with that?
Yeah, I was just thinking, I forgot that was yours, so I'm gonna say, good job, honey.
I'm really happy. I feel so affirmed right now.
But you guys do have to like listen to the book, get it on audio and listen to it, because it literally changed our marriage. I mean, I know that like you guys already got the concept, you know what each other's love language is, and that's basically what the gist of the book is, figuring that out. But my goodness, I mean, I wish I would have known that so many years ago, because then I'd been like, make me feel important.
Stop with the diamonds. Just tell me I'm beautiful.
But that's something that is so awesome too about being married, is that you get to go through all these different evolutions of your marriage and of each of you individually, and watching your spouse, like you get to go through that all together. And whether you read that book in the beginning or towards the end of your marriage, because you both are going to die off or something.
Die off? We're like endangered species all of a sudden. We're gonna die. We're like the dodo bird.
I'm just saying, like, it's just fun to be with that person forever through all the different phases of it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So I got you. This is good.
It is so good. So if you guys were sitting in front of, you guys crack me up, newly married, or a couple just now embarking onto their entrepreneurial journey, what advice would you give them? What would you tell them? you know, how it's going to be, or like, what would you tell them? What kind of advice would you give them?
What do you think?
I would say, just so you know, I don't know why I just did that. Just so you know, just make sure you carve out time for each other, because even though you guys are working really, really hard at building your individual projects, it's still important to make sure that you have that time with your constant, which is your spouse. They're always going to be there, so make sure you're still feeding that, because in return, it feeds you too. You know, your soul,
Right.
who you are as a person, keeps you grounded.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that.
It's got to be good.
Yeah. I'm going to make us look really bad. No, I'm kidding. That was, there's so many things that are coming to mind. There's just something about gratitude and appreciation for this human being that has agreed to spend the rest of their lives with you.
Right.
And I think we just forget about that. And I'm definitely not immune to this. That's why last night I said to you, like, I came over to her and just said, thank you so much for taking such good care of me. And she was laying on the couch. She wasn't doing anything. But I looked at her and I'm
I just
like,
cooked you dinner.
that's true. You had cookie dinner. That's right. Okay. But I mean, like, in that moment, but the reason that came up, it wasn't because I was trying to be sweet, and it wasn't because of, like, I'm some romantic guy. It's because I looked at her and I'm like, it's been almost 11 years, and we've been through so many things personally and professionally, and she's still here. And I'm going to go to work tomorrow, and I'm going to come home, and she's going to be here. And she's going to go to work tomorrow, and she's going to come home, and I'm still going to be here. And when I need support, she's going to be here. When she needs a shoulder to cry on, I'm going to be here. Like, when we slow that down and think about how effing miraculous it is that a human being has decided to be that constant for us, how could you not want to just shower them with love and compassion and understanding all the time?
Yeah.
Oh, I love you, honey.
Stop it. Stop it.
Because, like, selfishly, when you do that, it comes back to you.
Absolutely.
Like, so why would you not want to try with all your might to help that person be happy and feel loved, because they give it back to you?
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And I think that's it. I think that the biggest thing is knowing what your partner needs, and, being in tune with that, and staying connected. I mean, you guys summed it up. So I think it's great. I think you guys are great. You guys are so cute.
You guys are. I wish Matt was in here so we could have, like, a
I know.
beautiful, because you guys have, like, the most gorgeous family in the world.
Thank you. I know. I'm just kidding. No, I'm totally kidding. No.
You guys have 3 kids?
3 kids. Yeah, we have. Our oldest is 15. She's about to turn 16, and then our youngest is 7. And then we have an 11-year-old son as well. So we have a crew. And
imagine what it would be like, or what it would be like to have children in the mix as well. Like, I can't comprehend that.
We have a pit bull who just farts all day, and it's like almost too much to bear. So.
Well, we have a little Chihuahua as well, a teacup Chihuahua, and she doesn't take out. I mean, it's like she doesn't exist. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I wish Lola didn't exist, but that's sorry.
But, well, thank you guys so much for spending time with me and making me laugh, and I'm sure that everybody just loved you to pieces like they do, of course. But I appreciate y'all, and thank you so much.
We appreciate you. Thank you for all the work you're doing, and thanks for being a light in the world. We love you too.
Love you guys. Bye.